Suzuki VStrom 1050XT review is happening right now. Now this bike is probably a good choice for someone that's entering the adventure bike category. Value for money. It's not a difficult bike to ride. You can put heaps of Ks on it and not worry about devaluing your bike. So you can go and buy a BMW GS series up to $40,000, have it fully kit out. You're going to get a lot of Ks on it. Personally, I don't want to have an expensive bike and put lots of Ks on it, as well. I feel more comfortable having this value for money than putting lots of kilometres. You're going to buy a bike to ride, pardon me. You ain't going to buy a bike for, to be very expensive. And yeah, I just feel that, this for that category, you're going to, flog a bike and put it all through its paces, off-road, whatever. Yeah, I can't justify spending that amount of money, nor can I afford it. So, VStrom, as most people know, if you're watching this video, it comes out in a number of colours. Champion yellow, and then there's they call it a glass beige orange with a mix of white. This is the gloss sparkle black, and then the non-XT version comes out in a gloss sparkle black with a iron grey. Now, the XT has more features and it is heavier, so the weights, surprisingly, which I thought was interesting, that the weight for, if I can find it with my eyesight for some reason, so when it's wet, 247 kilos. Now, you've seen that I've added a few things to this bike and minus the heavy exhaust. So I'm saying this bike probably pushes nearly probably 250 plus kilos, having the SW Motec front, crash bars and then the upper crash bars, plus the add-on to the front hand protectors. So the non-XT version comes at 236 kilos. So if you're worried about the weight of the bike, maybe you might look at the non-XT, but there's a lot of pros and cons. As where the XT version comes in with the hill assist and those type of features, the electronic features, and they're hands down worth it. I think don't even bother with the non-XT version. Stick with the XT, and that would probably apply to you as well on resale value. So if you decide to sell later on, most people will probably look for the XT version. Unless you want the non-XT and you just want to ride around on a farm. Now, 20 litre fuel tank, it's perfect for this bike. Now, a friend of mine rides the GS BMW 850. Neck and neck, when in the Outback, when we got to empty, this bike had an extra 100 Ks in the tank, to be honest, and I felt comfortable in greater distances between towns, knowing that I had the fuel range, and that's riding from Sydney all the way up to Townsville, and that's the back way. Another key feature of this bike, and it had no issues on it, and I've noted, I picked up on this on my initial impressions video, that it was questionable whether or not the new engine was mapped to accept 91 fuel. This thing will run on an oily rag, and I'm going to say hands down, the motor, it does its job. It's not fussy, and it'll take the fuel. So that's another thing to learn, that Suzuki engines, it will take a lower quality fuel and not give you issues. As where my mate's BMW, it hated 91, and it lost within the computer, losing range of 100 kilometres estimate. So yeah, this had no issues, and it run really well. Okay, tyres. Happy with the choice that Suzuki give you with these Bridgestone Battle Axe. I've done 5,600 Ks, and it's only started to get a flat spot now. and considering that the bike was loaded up with an extra 40 plus kilos on the back with bags, it's done pretty well on the tyres. It'll be interesting to see if you can get to the 8,000k range or so for these tyres, for the range and usage. Now, cleaning the bike. Yes, it's an adventure bike, and who cleans an adventure bike? I found that the front end does get a lot of muck up in on the top of the radiator, seems to suck it in, and that's what I find with this bike. I'm pedantic about cleaning bikes, but it is what it is. So yeah, just be prepared to know that a lot of muck seems to get in the top radiator and onto the weather horn and stuff for some reason. Just the design. It can be minimised, and I've noticed that the good thing about adding a skid plate to your bike, it will reduce the amount of road rash hitting your engine. That thing has done its job, and I'm happy to say I'm glad that I purchased the SW Motec skid plate for all intensive purposes. Not only does it protect the oil filter on the bike, it does its job, and 100% recommend it. The crash bars installed, so removing the OEM lower crash bars, which I was a bit hesitant in doing so because I like the look of it. I have no regrets putting these upper crash bars because there was a bonus to it. With these type of crash bars, you can put the Krager 10-litre bag on each side, and if you go to my Instagram, you'll see that I've added bags. So because Suzuki failed to supply the panniers with this bike when I purchased it, the option was I needed space to put extra to have that extra bit for luggage and stuff. So you can add 2 bags to the front of the bike, and it looks tough. So that's another thing. So if you're limited on space, add these crash bars. You can add your bags. So let's talk about Suzuki's promotion offer. So they offered the pannier package with the top box. They failed to deliver. Now, you can make excuses on what's happening in the world, but personally, someone at Suzuki and they need to make changes, because now, how many people out there are going to do a bike between travel and do 5,000 to 10,000 Ks on a bike and wait for the pannier package? They're going to sell the bike. By the time you get to 10,000 Ks, I know a lot of people will. They'll sell the bike. So for me, I've already done a whole lot of Ks on this bike, and I have no panniers. So that's the only disappointment I have with Suzuki, that they failed to deliver. And it's disheartening really, because you in all intensive purposes, you want to ride a bike that's designed as the full package. You haven't given me the full package, Suzuki. So that's something that needs to be addressed. See, the dealer said to me, I go, why don't you have the panniers and that? And they go, well, the procedure is that they get the bike registered, and then they send a set to the head office in Japan and say, here's the details, the bike's been registered, then they send it out. Far out. If you're going to run my 2 cents, if you're going to run a promotion package, have it already with the bike. And then when you cease the promotion, then go back to normal with selling your bikes. But so that's my disappointment with Suzuki. As with regards to the engine, it's an excellent engine, like I said, with the fueling and that, good mileage. Probably use a bit more fuel than other bikes, especially being in the 1037cc range. But that's what you're paying. Most guys that want to ride a litre bike and that more, that's what you want, and you're prepared to pay that little bit extra in fuel. The only pros or the cons with that is higher insurance, higher rego costs in this category. Now, let's talk about the ultimate. For me personally, I think that the ultimate adventure bike that Suzuki could make right now and hit the market would be putting the Katana engine, so the K5 inline 4, into an adventure bike. And I personally think that the bike would sell like hotcakes. It's hard to go from generally someone in my age, you're going to ride sport bikes and then you're going to switch to adventure bikes, for comfort and stuff like that. But us old guys, you know, we want power. I want freight train power in an adventure bike. Yes, I could go if stop complaining and they say go buy a BMW GS 1250 or whatever. Don't want to buy that. If there was an inline 4 in that thing, it would be a monster and would put a smile on a lot of guys' faces on, you know, how good it is. Now, I'll go to braking with the bike. I have no issues with the brakes on this bike. In fact, I think they're fantastic. They're pretty good. They're not Brembo or anything. Or they call them Tokino, or whatever. But yeah, they're good. I guess if you have any issues with the brakes, you can always change the brake pads. But it stops well enough. Now, this bike is not a city bike by all means. I've rode this through Brisbane and Sydney in heavy traffic, and she's a beast. And yeah, you just don't want to. You don't want to be on the open road on this bike. As with regards, we'll go back to in the start of the video. I talked about the weight, 247 kilos. This bike is it's tippy top heavy, and it's on a thin line. The balance is on a thin line. Now, that only means that if you've got short legs like myself, you're going to have to pay a bit of extra attention in your stopping, and that's one thing you could be very aware of when you stop in traffic and stuff like that. But if you're on the open road, this bike comes in on its own when you're in motion. So 60 k's, 80 k's, this thing's nimble like a sport bike. And that's what I like about it. So I'm not going to complain about the bike being, you know, the balance at low speeds, because the design of it pays for itself when you're in motion. The only there's a few things that I'd probably ask Suzuki to change, and that's the handlebar positions and the way that they're made. See, you spend a bit of time. If you're in the standing position, I find that the handlebars are probably too low, maybe. The handlebars, it needs to be changed in a way, and that's my personal preference. The other things with regards to the controls, yes, it's excellent that you get cruise control, but my issue is that you're spending a lot more time looking down, and you've got to turn it on. I have to reach to turn it on, and it needs to come to my right a bit more when you press it. You need to be able to press the controls without looking at it, and I feel that I have to look at where the button is to press it. The indicator switch, and this is a gripe with Suzuki, that it feels cheap and tacky, and it's cheap plastic. I wish there was a solid left and right, and it was a better quality the way it was manufactured. So, but we'll see. I don't know if Suzuki to ever address that issue. Oh yeah, let's talk about go back to cruise control. Cruise control on this bike, when you're adjusting up and down between speed zones. So if you're going in an 80k zone and then it bumps up and then you go into a 110k zone, there is a bit of lag when it comes to doing the speed. I don't know if it's the computer or it's the slowness, but if you're varying even between 80k, 110 back down to 80 and then into 60k zones with roadworks, it'd be good if this bike had a bit more work was put into the cruise control, because I found that cruise control was laggy and a bit slow. That's one thing, especially when you spend hours on the bike. Having that, well, that's one of the gripes I have. But you know what? Having cruise control in the first place for this value for money on a bike, it's excellent. Okay, the screen's totally off. It's too small. As soon as you go into the 80k zone and into 100, 110, the buffeting on the top, it hits the top of your helmet. I'm 5'8", and yeah, I'm short. So anyone that's tall and you're 6 foot, you're going to hate this screen. It's just doesn't do its job. You're going to either need a deflector, or you're going to have to change to an aftermarket screen to make your life better. Because after riding this for 5 hours and that, my ears were, you know, as much as I wear earplugs and that too, but the times that I didn't wear earplugs, my ears were ringing. Headlights excellent, especially at high beam. They work great at night. You can see that I've added steady. These are, you know, daylight runners on the top, and then I've got the steady lights on the lower on the crash bars. Yeah, if you want extra lights, that's where you're gonna have to pay for to do that for yourself, for your own customization. But overall, the headlight does its job. Indicators are excellent. LED indicators, can't fault those. Mirrors, I love the mirrors. The mirrors, I find that the way the design is, they work perfectly on the road. Rear vision is excellent, and I haven't changed them. And on a lot of my bikes, the Katana's changed, but yeah, a lot of my bikes I've always changed mirrors. And yeah, just on Suzuki, you did a good job. The Suzuki, it's awesome, the mirrors. Paint, fit and finish, it looks good. A lot of people comment on the black and it sparkles in the sunlight. Yeah, good job, Suzuki. I'm going to wrap up the review of the bike. Overall, like I said, value for money. You're going to put a lot of Ks on it, so you're not going to worry about, you know, having spent so much money on a motorcycle. It has plenty of aftermarket accessories that you can add to the bike. It will run on an oily rag. Mind you, it is recommended that you do 95 plus for the engine. It looks great. It's an excellent starter bike for an adventure bike, and there's not much more that you can really complain about. There's a few little things that Suzuki could probably address, but if they ever do it, they'll do it. But anyway, thanks for watching my review. I hope it helps you in your decision of your bike. And safe riding, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for watching.